What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to yet another episode of the Fight Maniac podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to these emergency red alert, sound the alarms, emergency episode. We have some breaking news. Ding, 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 ding. Well, not because I'm sure you guys have already seen it all over social media. We do have Dana White went on a live stream last night. I think it was on Instagram, and he decided to just drop some bangers on us, some crazy announcements regarding UFC 314, 315, and a few fight nights as well. But yeah, I'm gonna break it down, give you guys my thoughts, my predictions. But to start it off, really, I mean, the biggest one, in my opinion, is Ilia Topuria, who vacated the featherweight title of the world. And I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I think that if what Dana White said is true, word by word, he said, Ilia said that he already cemented his reign, his legacy at featherweight, and that he didn't want to make the weight anymore, and he was going to go fight at lightweight. So I don't know how I feel about that because, and I'm going to talk about the fight for the vacant title, which is obviously former champ Alexander Volkanovski versus number 3 ranked Diego Lopes. That's a banger fight. So, but yeah, as far as Ilya goes, man, I don't know how to feel about that because I just simply do not agree with that statement. The fact that he said he already cemented his legacy at featherweight, it really makes no sense because he hasn't defended the title enough times. Now, there is, however, somewhat of a conversation to say, well, he kind of already defeated the 2 GOATs, or at least the 2 of the best of that division, in Max Holloway and Volkanovski. And I think that's obviously nothing easy, and that's a great thing to have on your resume, and it definitely cements you as somewhat of a fucking legend status. But as far as being done at featherweight, I just do not agree with that. I do not agree with that at all because there was a lot of potential matchups that are at featherweight that are fun. Like Diego Lopes was one. Obviously, Diego Lopes versus Yair versus Ilya. That, in my opinion, I would have liked to see that better than him versus Volkanovski. That's just my opinion. With Volkanovski, no shade on him at all, but I mean, he's just a little bit older. His last 2 fights, 3 fights, really. So I mean, it's just it's tough. It's tough, and you also have Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega. So you have a lot of fun contenders there that still at the top. Maybe some of them are like 1 win away. Probably like a Yair Rodriguez is 1 win away for sure. So is Brian Ortega. But Diego Lopes, I mean, he was right there, ready for a title shot. And I mean, shout out to him. He is getting that. But as far as Ilya, if he goes at lightweight, if he does decide to move up and go at lightweight, like, I would like for the UFC to kind of like not punish him, but kind of say like, okay, you decided to do that to us. Because don't get me wrong, the UFC doesn't like that shit. I know for a fact the UFC must hate the fact that Ilya did what he did of vacating the title and going up 1 weight class to potentially fight for the title there as well. I know for a fact that maybe they don't like it right now, but I think they also understand that a fight versus between him and Islam Makhachev is a potential huge fight and big moneymaker fight for sure. So I do see both sides. But what I was going to say is that maybe don't give him that right away. Like, show him a little bit of punishment by kind of saying, oh, you want to move up? All right, bet. Here's a ranked number 3 guy or ranked number 4 guy. Here's Justin Gaethje or his, The funny thing is that now Max Holloway is also at 155. So, I mean, could we potentially see a rematch between Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria at 155? Take my fucking money, bro. Take my money for that. You have Michael Chandler, who's fighting, obviously. That was another of the announcements. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. So you have a lot of good options at 55. It's one of the most stacked weight divisions for sure. But I just don't want to see him right at the title. That would not sit well with me. For him to just say, all right, I'm done at featherweight, and then just get a title shot right away at lightweight. That just doesn't really sit well with me. I think he has to win at least one at lightweight, and then he'll go for a title shot. Now, don't get me wrong. If this was like a Kamaru Usman or Israel Adesanya type of scenario where they're at their peak and they have 4 defenses, 5 defenses, title defenses, then they can move up and go for the second strap right away and don't have to fight again at a contender fight at the other division. So I do see that side. So I think if Ilya would have waited and win, at the minimum, just win one more. You know what I mean? Like, just win one more against the best contender, which in my opinion probably would have been Diego Lopes. If you win that one, now you have more leverage to talk to the UFC and say, "Hey guys, I do deserve to go for the second strap." It is also, I think he kind of fumbled in the opportunity to say to be double champ simultaneously, because now even though he's still considered double champ, he wouldn't be simultaneously, which in my opinion is way tougher and way cooler to say I'm double champ. That's kind of keeping both divisions busy. I think that makes for way better argument of being like a GOAT status. So I don't know why he didn't wait for that. Do you have to wonder, is it part of like the weight cut? Is that kind of like the main thing? Maybe he realized that shit. Maybe these weight cuts aren't as easy as I thought. He usually seems like he cuts weight pretty well. He's not a huge guy. He's also not that tall. So I wouldn't think that weight is an issue, but I don't know. Like, why? To me, in my opinion, it's really just a power move. Like, he doesn't want to wait for that L to come at featherweight. He wants to say he's undefeated and unmatched at featherweight, so he retires at the top. It's like Khabib. Khabib retiring with 3 title defenses, mind you, undefeated, but 3 title defenses, retiring, and now he's saying that, like, oh, I'm the GOAT, I'm the best, I retire at the top, which there is something to say about that. If you do retire at the top of your game, it's kind of great. But for Ilya to move up, only having 2, well, really 1 title defense against Max Holloway, that is fucking crazy. So, yeah, I don't know how to feel about that, really. However, you guys know me. I love the super fight. So if I do see him versus Islam Makhachev, I'm not mad at that. But I have to see that fight announced. To believe it, right? But again, I think kind of a douche move, kind of like an asshole move to say, well, fuck you guys. I'm going up. I don't give a fuck. Here's the belt. So for that, I kind of want to see him fight at least once. And we'll get a good idea of kind of how he does against the lightweights and how he is compared against the heavier guys. You know what I mean? Because, you got to realize, if Ilya at featherweight probably cuts from like 160, 170, these guys at lightweight are cutting from like 180, even maybe not 190, but like 180 for sure. So these guys, just because you're meeting them at lightweight doesn't mean you're gonna have same kind of advantage. Those guys are gonna weight way more when it comes to the actual fight weight. So one thing that really makes sense too is that he could have said, oh well, lightweight is clearly the most stacked and popular and probably higher paying division in the UFC. You know what I mean? Ever since obviously Khabib and Conor, like those guys made that division one of the highest paying divisions just by its star numbers alone. You know what I mean? Every time Justin Gaethje fights, Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, like those guys bring in big pay-per-views. It's probably the most popular division in the UFC. So I also get that aspect of why he did it. Maybe he said, well, hey, I could make way more money at lightweight, which makes sense. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Do you guys think it's okay? Do you think maybe he needed 1 more defense or 2 more at featherweight? So let me know what you guys think on that. So for the so the main event, we got announced Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. Like I said, I'm not mad at that fight, but I definitely would have preferred Diego Lopes versus Ilia Topuria, just because Ilia is at the top of his game right now. So Diego Lopes going against a Volkanovski that has 3 losses in a row, it's or I think 2 or 3 in a row. Yeah, it's not that appealing. Obviously, I still want to see that fight, and I'm still gonna watch it and pay for it. Probably not pay for it. It's a fight that I kind of is one of those things that are like, oh well, I didn't know I wanted that fight, but I guess I'll take it. It is what it is. That's kind of how I felt when the Diego Lopes fought Brian Ortega. Although I gotta say, maybe I was a little bit more pumped for that fight, even though Brian did kind of shitty on that. Great opportunity for Diego Lopes, who is a guy that kind of just bursted on the scene and gained a lot of popularity in this past year or so. And he's a guy that, in my opinion, I mean, I don't want to like contradict myself because I just said like he probably was the one deserving of the title next, but also, I think he just needs a little bit more experience. I think if he's going to go into those deeper rounds with Volkanovski, I think that experience might benefit Volkanovski, and the fact that Volkanovski can be fresh and calm and collective in the 4th and the 5th round, that's what can play a big factor on this. So when it comes to that aspect, I kind of give the advantage to Volkanovski. But then again, Diego Lopes is just explosive guy, and he's a guy that tries to go for the finish, and he's a phenomenal striker, great boxing, and just well-rounded overall. I think I did kind of say that, like, okay, he needs to work a little bit on his defense, but I mean, that's kind of back to what I'm saying about, like, the experience. Like, this guy just needs a little bit more experience. Like, don't get me wrong, he can totally win the belt against Volk because he can catch Volk with something. Obviously, we've seen Volk not having the same jaw he once had, obviously getting knocked out by Makhachev and getting knocked out by Ilya. Not the same jaw he used to have, obviously. So Diego Lopes definitely has that puncher's shot, you know what I mean? And he could definitely win with like an early KO or a TKO. I could see like a round 2, round 3 TKO if he catches Volk with something. But if Volk plays this right, and he kind of, shoots down Diego's game and kind of, keeps the pressure going, keeps Diego in his back heel going back. And if this fight does go to the championship rounds, I think that's where Volk definitely has the advantage. Definitely, I mean, experienced fighter. I mean, I feel like some of those guys can go into championship fights like straight out of the bed. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, like not completely out of shape, but if not everybody, like some of these guys, bro, like Volk, fucking Kamaru Usman, like these guys that have real fucking cardio, fucking Merab Dvalishvili, cardio is insane. And I mean, Volk, if you remember, the first fight against Islam, arguably won that fight. A lot of people gave it to him, including myself. If I'm asking, including myself, I thought he definitely won that first fight against Islam. So there would have been your double champ right there simultaneously. Kind of bullshit, but it is what it is. I mean, even in that fight, if you remember, Islam was gassed by the end of the fight. Islam was absolutely toasted. And Volk turned it up in those last rounds. And he ended the fight on top, putting the pressure on Islam. So if he's able to do that, if this fight is not going to go to the finish, if this fight is going to go the distance, and if Volk can do that, I guarantee you he gets that strap back and he's going to be new again, which will be dope. Will be dope to see him kind of get back on top because you got to wonder. I mean, he's getting a little bit older. He is also, it would be kind of like an Izzy situation where I would hate for Volk or for Izzy to retire with like a 2, 3, 4 losing streak. You know what I mean? The way kind of Izzy is going right now. So the fact that Volk is getting another shot at this, I mean, he has to be so happy with Ilya. He has to be praying to Ilya right now that, thanking him that he vacated because his chances were not that great. His chances at getting another maybe title shot or maybe like a rematch against Ilya, I don't think they were that great. Like I said, I think he was going to get skipped by some of these guys like Diego Lopes. Who else is there? Let me see. I know Yair is fighting pretty soon. I mean, you have Max Holloway still ranked there, but again, he just lost too. You have Movsar Evloev. That would have been a shot. You have Brian Ortega, Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett. So all of those guys probably 1 or 2 wins away. So the best one, I think, in my opinion, was Diego. I think Diego, again, was probably just the best the next one to the throne, to the shot, to the title shot. So, but yeah, it is what it is. That is what happened. I'm excited for the fight, anyways. I think Volk and Diego are gonna really put it on. So I'm excited for that. Then Dana White announces the co-main event for this motherfucker. The co-main event for 314 is absolutely wild. And it's the serving of to Michael Chandler. He's all the serving of this fight is Michael Chandler versus Patty the Batty Pimblett. I'm so excited for this fight. I know this fight is going to be fireworks from the minute it begins, from the minute the bell rings. These guys is going to be at each other, trying to go for the KO. Patty obviously has crazy striking, crazy submissions as well. He can submit you. Even standing up, he could jump a little triangle or something, flying triangle. While you're standing, he doesn't have to take you to the ground. He can just do that while you're standing. That's a fucking cheat code, especially someone with Michael Chandler, who doesn't necessarily have that much of a jiu-jitsu experience. I think he could get caught with something if he's worrying too much about defending strikes, or about if he's headhunting too much against Patty. He could definitely get caught with something real quick. But then the reason why I love this fight is because obviously Michael Chandler was in a little bit of a hiatus because of Conor McGregor, right? I mean, he was waiting on Conor. And, a lot of people criticize him about this. My thoughts on it was that, look, he gambled it. To him, it was like, all right, I took 2 years off, and then I'm going to go fight the biggest fight of my career and get paid all the money in the world. So I'm training, I'm not taking damage, I'm staying in shape. Basically, I'm having a 2-year paid vacation, you know what I mean? Because when he does get back, he's win or lose against Conor, he would have made all the money in the world. So on that aspect, I think that it was kind of worth it to wait. Obviously, Conor is more than likely never coming back to the UFC. That's another topic that I have for you guys there. Maybe like a separate video or something, talk about why Conor, I think he's just not coming back to the UFC at all. He's done, I think, fighting. If anything, he has like 1 or 2 celebrity type of fights, against the Paul brothers or whoever, man. But as far as UFC goes, I do not think we see him. At least not this year. So, if he does come back next year, not taking, 4 years off, like that's just insane. So I don't know who is going to want to see that product. I mean, he's Conor and people would still want to see it, but the purists and the non-casuals like us, me and you, yeah, we're going to be like, what the fuck? I mean, you took all this time off and, whatever. That's a topic for another day. I'm excited, though, that Michael Chandler is finally getting probably not the same paycheck, but definitely getting paid really well, especially because I think I know Dana. I mean, I don't know Dana personally, obviously, but I know Dana that sometimes he takes care of guys, whenever like fights fall off or opponents change or last minute change or something. He always says something like, oh, we took care of that guy, meaning they gave him a little financial bonus for their troubles. And I think they did that with Michael Chandler. I think they're going to give him a fat bonus. Potentially even get fight of the night. That who knows. But I think Michael Chandler is great. And also, you got to talk about this. You gotta think of it this way: the fact that he's getting probably the second or third, like Conor is obviously the number 1 guy in Europe. All right, let's just talk about Europe for a second. I don't want to talk about the U.S. or the whole world. Let's just talk about Europe for a second. Europe, Conor's number 1, obviously, right? Then you have other guys like Patty, like Ilia Topuria. Like some of these other European guys like Tom Aspinall. But as far as popularity goes, I think Patty is number 2 after Conor. That's what I am guessing. I think Patty's a little bit more popular than like Tom Aspinall. Maybe not Ilia, you know what I mean? But Ilia is from Spain. I guess I'm kind of okay. Maybe not Europe. Maybe like the UK. Let's narrow it down a little more. Maybe like UK, like obviously like Ireland, England. All those countries right there. Conor's number 1 for sure, and Patty has to be number 2. You know what I mean? Patty definitely is number 2. So the fact that it wasn't like he went on and fought Tony Ferguson or another low ranked, no name type of guy. He went on to fighting the number two, the next best thing when it comes to European UK fighters. Obviously Paddy the Baddy. And that's a super exciting fight, man. I'm so excited for that. So it did kind of pay off in the sense that like he basically took a big paid vacation, because I guarantee you he's still gonna make a decent amount of money fighting Paddy the Baddy. So as far as the fight goes, I mean, I'll probably have to give it to Paddy, man. I think it's the younger, fresher guy, better record. You know what I mean? Chandler is coming off of 2 losses in a row and taking a long time off before he lost last time to Charles Oliveira. So part of me wants to say, well, Paddy's in a little bit of on the come up right now. He's supposed to be the guy that's next. You know what I mean? So usually when that happens, it's pretty obvious that guy's going to win. And Michael Chandler, I will say this, he desperately needs it's a win. Like, he desperately needs a win. Regardless of everything else. No matter how entertaining he is in the octagon, how explosive he is, he needs to win, and he knows that. You know what I mean? That can only get you so far, especially if you really do have title aspirations. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just continue to be this entertaining guy and keep losing, because then you just drop down the queue. You won't even get entertaining fights. You know what I mean? So if he loses this one, it gets tough. It gets really, really tough for him now. Talking about a potential, not career ender, but probably a potential last hope for getting a title shot anytime soon. You know what I mean? This is definitely that for Michael Chandler. I think he definitely needs that win. I mean, think about it. The only win he has in his last 5 fights is against Tony Ferguson. And that was damn near 3 years ago. So, I mean, that's tough. That's really tough. Lost against Oliveira twice. Lost against Poirier. Lost against Gaethje. So, tough go in the UFC. But, again, we kind of give him a pass. Because he's this guy that's entertaining and explosive and always goes for the KO and throws caution to the wind, and he doesn't really care if he gets hit or if he gets KO'd. So because of that, I mean, it kind of excites me, and I kind of give him a pass. But again, he needs that win. And it's just tough against Paddy, bro. It's tough against Paddy. Like I said, Paddy can catch him with either a submission or like a nasty little TKO or KO. You know what I mean? Like, Paddy definitely has those capabilities on him. And I think I got to give it to Paddy, man. I'll break down the fight more the week off, but I just got to give it to Paddy, man. I think he is on the come up, and he's probably the next title contender at lightweight after Charles. And we'll see what happens with Arman Tsarukyan. And he's in a great spot, Paddy, because he kind of is now there at the top where we've always known he was going to be. This is the fight that puts him there at the very top. Not at the very top, but at least within arm's reach now of the title. Like, he wins this one, he could be next, because again, we'll see what again, lightweight is such a stacked fucking division right now, dude. Like, now Paddy wasn't even there in the top 5, and now he could be. You know what I mean? And now Ilya's there, and now Max Holloway's there. Like, dude, this fucking division is absolutely stacked, bro. Like, that is ridiculous. They should make it so that some of those guys have to go up, to give welterweight a bigger of a chance and a bigger pay-per-views. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's going to be a fun fight. What else did Dana White announce? Oh, yeah, he announced 315 main event. By the way, sorry, before I move on to 315, can we just talk about how stacked 14 is? I mean, 314 is absolutely stacked. So we have, obviously, I already talked about the main and the co-main. And then we have Yair Rodriguez fighting Patricio Frari, who's coming off of Bellator, former champ at Bellator. So, I mean, that we know he's elite and we know he's dangerous. So that's going to be a fucking exciting fight. We have Jeff Neal going against Carlos Prates. That's also going to be a good fight. Carlos Prates is on a fucking run right now. Won his last 5. I think he's undefeated. No, he's not undefeated. But, wait, is he? No, he's not undefeated. But in the UFC, he is. He won his last 5 fights, including Dana White Contender Series. So he's on a little bit of a run. Maybe I give that fight to him. I think Over Jeff Neal, yeah, for sure. I love Jeff Neal, but his record is not as impressive. He lost against Ian Gary. He lost against Shavkat. Mind you, I mean, those guys are, fucking best of the best of that division, but Jeff is a fucking veteran and he's a dog, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls up the win. But as far as putting money, I'll definitely go with Carlos Prates here. We have Dominic Reyes fighting as well versus a Ukrainian cat, Nikita Krylov, who has 3 wins in a row right now. Before that, he lost 2. Oh, wow. He defeated Gustafsson, Ozdemir, and then Ryan Spann. So a little bit of a run right there, a little bit of an undefeated run right there, 3 in a row. Submission, decision, and TKO. So Dan Ige versus Woodson. That's also a fantastic fight. This is a great fight. Verna Yan, I don't know how you say her name. Verna Jandiroba, I think, versus Yan Xiaonan, who, sorry, I'm so sorry. I think that's her name. Yan Xiaonan, who obviously just fought for the title not too long ago against Zhang Wei Li. I heard it was one of like the best, one of the, not the best, one of the most watched fights ever because of China was all over Zhang Wei Li's nuts, and I think like their views was like in the billions. Like, all right, well, we'll see. Like, I don't know what that means. Like when Dana White comes out and he says, "Oh, this fight got billions of views," like is he talking pay-per-views, or is he just talking like trending like on Instagram or Twitter? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, dude. This fight's fucking good. Jim Miller versus Hooper, bro. That is a stacked fight, potentially fight of the night. Jim Miller obviously just fought not too long ago either. He's a fucking veteran. And I think he's got like the most fights ever in the UFC or something like that. I think he maybe be titled with Cowboy, or I forget who has the most right now. But Jim Miller, a fucking savage, just fought not too long ago and won as well. Get an impressive win, and it was November. So not too long ago. I think that was the John Jones card, right? If I'm not mistaken. Going against Chase Hooper, bro. Again, old versus young. Right now that's like the trend. Right now, old versus young. Chase Hooper coming off 4 wins in a row, 3 by submission. Man, that's wild. Submitted Clay Guida, Jordan Levitt, and Borshev. That's a pretty good goddamn record, bro. Clay Guida is I said Gouda, like the cheese. Clay Guida. Obviously not an easy cat to put away. He's a little bit older dude and, more of a veteran, but still not hard to put away. And, Hooper submitted him. Actually, if I remember correctly, yes, Clay Guida injured himself that fight because I think he tried to get away. He tried to get out of the submission by twisting or something. And I think he kind of fucked up his shoulder or something. It was horrible to watch. So that's a fucking great fight, man. Chase Hooper versus Jim Miller. Yeah, man, that card, 314, holy shit, bro. Stacked. Absolutely fucking stacked. That is wild. And then we also got news of the main event for a fight night. Leon Edwards, former champ, versus Sean Brady. I like this fight a lot. Because Sean Brady obviously lost to the champ. And obviously, Leon Edwards is also coming off of a loss against the champ, when they fought for the belt. So they both of them lost to Belal. And we also got Belal announced, by the way, against JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, for UFC 315. Unfortunately, Shavkat Rakhmonov was injured for what Dana White said, so that is a little unfortunate because we all knew Shavkat was next, and in my opinion, Shavkat has probably the best chance at beating Belal that anybody has. I think Belal is really, people talk shit on Belal, bro, and it's like a meme now. It's like a trend to talk shit on Belal, but no matter what you say, the guy is elite. He is elite at that division. He's definitely the best welterweight right now on the planet. Obviously, I think Shavkat would have taken that spot. I think I would have predicted Shavkat to win. But now he's getting Jack Della Maddalena. Also exciting guy to watch. An amazing fighter if you guys have never seen him fight. Coming up with a little bit of a tear as well, man. Completely undefeated in the UFC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row in the UFC. This is a fantastic fight because they're both undefeated, man. Bilal has been on a fucking tear. On a fucking tear. His last loss is against Jeff Neal in 2019. And that was a long time ago. But if you look at his record, he's also fought some of the who's. So, he's deserving of all the praise I think he's finally getting. I think maybe he still gets some shit. But regardless, this is a fantastic fight. Two undefeated guys at the top of their game. So I'm not mad about it. I'm a little mad that Shavkat is injured and we're not going to see him fight. But, the next best thing is definitely JDM. Definitely JDM. Yeah, and I don't know why I never even saw him. It's because I don't think he's defeated, anybody huge, with a big name. If he would have had the only biggest kind of name he got was Gilbert Burns and Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is what it is. He kind of sucks. And Gilbert Burns, that's probably the most impressive one, former title contender. And he's been at the top there for a while in that division. But other than that, he has no big name. If he would have defeated somebody like a Usman or like a Leon or like a Colby, then I think he would have been more of on our minds of oh yeah, maybe he's next. But he just wasn't on my radar for the title shot. He just really wasn't. But looking at his record, it kind of makes sense, bro. Undefeated. He has a bunch of KOs, submission. The guy also is a finisher. He's an exciting dude to watch. He's a fantastic fighter. So I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at it at all. So shout out to that. A couple of exciting fights too here for I'm a little confused because Dana White said the co-main event of this was going to be Shevchenko versus Fioret, but that's not what it's showing here in ESPN at least. Maybe let me go to the UFC real quick and see if I see that here. Events, upcoming. Muhammad. Okay, yeah, so ESPN website is wrong for some reason, but it's showing Alexa Grasso is going to be the co-main event versus Natalia Silva. I think that's wrong. So in the UFC website, we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot, who, she kind of burst out of nowhere, ranked number 2 of the division. But she is coming off an impressive win against Erin Blanchfield. She's a savage. I'm a huge fan of Blanchfield. I'm a little less sad that he lost that fight because I really thought Aaron was going to be next up for a title shot. He has some impressive wins, great jiu-jitsu. So I'm excited for that. And she has defeated a lot of big names. She defeated Rose Namajunas as well. She defeated Bueno Silva. So you're talking about some big names here, some former champs, some former title contenders, in Bueno Silva and former champion Rose. So yeah, she totally, I think, deserves it. And I think it's going to be a good fight. Hopefully, it's not a bathroom break. But yeah, I think that's going to be good. And then we have Gilbert Burns versus Michael Moore. Oh, okay. So Alexa Grasso is fighting in that card, but not the co-main. Fix your shit, ESPN. They have her as a co-main. Anyways, she is fighting, but lower in the fight, in the card. You have Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. That's also going to be a great fight. Number 8 versus number 12. Potential fight of the night there. Gilbert Burns has that dog in him. People forget, man. Remember that Khamzat Chimaev fight. He's arguably been the guy that gave Khamzat the most trouble, for sure. Absolutely. Mind you, it was at welterweight, and we know Khamzat is truly, really a middleweight, so whatever. But even then, in that case, if that's true, then he has the weight advantage. He couldn't submit Gilbert, and struggle to take him down. So Gilbert is just overall great, well-rounded fighter. He can take it to the ground, he can strike, he can submit you, and I'm excited for that. And then we have Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. Obviously, Alexa Grasso being the former champion at flyweight, and Natalia Silva is, let me look at her record here. Valentina, flyweight. I know she fought not too long ago. Yeah, she fought Jessica Andrade in September and won that. And yeah, that's probably her most impressive win so far. So, if he's able to get past the former champion, Alexa Grasso, then, I mean, she's probably up next. She has to be up next, you know what I mean? Against, I'm assuming the winner of Valentina versus Fiorot, who most likely will be Valentina. She's a super dominant champ. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mana and Fiorot, I haven't seen her fight that much, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys. Don't call me a casual. But if she kind of has that similar style that Alexa Grasso had the first fight against Valentina, like just keeping pressure and getting takedowns and getting good strikes. Like if you shut down Valentina's game on the striking and then you shut down her game on the wrestling, like, boy, you're cooking. So if Fiorot needs to, if she wants to have a shot at winning the title, she has to go for that. Or for getting like a KO or something. I don't know if she's a finisher though. Let's see. Let me look at her record right now. No, I mean, she has 5 unanimous decisions in a row. Mind you, before that, she did have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 KOs in a row as well. Some of those were outside the UFC. But other than that, not a true finisher, not especially since she got to the UFC. She started off great with getting 2 KOs in a row. But after that, it's been 5 unanimous decisions in a row. So if you're going to go to decision with Valentina, I just don't see how she loses. I just don't see how she wouldn't apply the pressure more, get the takedowns, land jabs, land some combos, attack the legs, attack the body. That's her game. Valentina is super well-rounded, and she does an amazing job at all of that. So excited for the fight, though. I really want to see it. So this Saturday, actually, we do have also a fight night. I can break that down for you guys real quick. Well, I mean, it's not that impressive of a card. We have Henry Triple C Cejudo fighting against Song Yadong. I think it's going to be a good fight. Potential future, not like a title eliminator fight, not a number 1 contender fight, but definitely like one away from the title shot. So obviously Henry Cejudo is coming off of 2 losses right now against Marav and against Sterling, and before that he was obviously retired as one of the best. This is a prime example. Henry Cejudo is a prime example of why a lot of the times you want to stay retired, I guess. Because like when you come back and you lose 2 in a row, it just doesn't look that great on your record and on your, legacy. You know what I mean? So if he would have stayed retired, he still gets to just yap on Twitter and say that he is one of the GOATs and undefeated and stuff like that. But just because he decided to come back, and when he fought that first one against Sterling, he kind of alluded to the fact that he was going to just retire again because he said that he only fights for gold. You know what I mean? And mind you, when he fought against Marav, I mean, he was also just like 1 away from gold. If he won against Marav, he was definitely going to go for that title, especially with Sterling being out of the picture and Sterling moving up. By the way, that's another thing. The fight that, it just really shows that there is really some Dana White privilege or like, UFC preferred type of fighters, because look at someone like fucking Sterling. Former champ, had a great run at bantamweight. He moves up to featherweight, and they throw him to the fucking wolves. They literally throw him down the queue, 2-3 fights away from a title shot. You know what I mean? And look at someone like Ilya. Like, most likely he will probably get just 1 shot or even the title shot right away. It just shows that there is kind of some preference there. You know what I mean? I guess we'll see what happens. If Ilya gets a title shot right away, Sterling has to be like, hey man, what the fuck, bro? I was former champ, but he has a better record than Ilya, more title defenses. Also against some legends, you know what I mean? Some of the former legends of that division, they're in a similar position in that aspect. But yeah, it just shows that there is some favoritism. So we'll see what happens with Ilya. Where was I going? Oh yeah, Henry Cejudo. He obviously has his 2 losses, so homie should have stayed retired. But I'm excited to see him. Hopefully he can get back in the win column. And then Song Yadong is coming off of a loss, unfortunately, against Peter Yan. So he also needs to get back in that win column. Both of these guys definitely, I think, like want if they win, whoever wins this one more again, and then a title shot. Well, depending on like who's available or whatnot, but one more and then a title shot. So this could be a fight for big implications. So excited for that. We have Brendan Allen versus Hernandez. That should be a great fight. Rob Font versus Matsumoto. That's also gonna be a good fight right there. I'm excited to see Rob Font. Savage dude. He's from Puerto. I don't know who's from Puerto Rico. I thought. Well, I know he's American, but like I thought he was like from other place, not from Puerto Rico. Shout out though. Shout out. Wait, Rob Font has a loss against. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I thought I saw a loss against Song Yadong. I was like, wait, what? No, but it was Sanhagen. um, Manifield versus Walker, light heavyweight not title shot, light heavyweight fight right there. A couple of light heavyweights, and the rest of the card is kind of meh. It's kind of yeah. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. I'm gonna come back next week because we're gonna talk about what happens Cejudo versus Song. Also, we have another fight night and Manel Cape versus Asu Almabayev. I know that fight was just supposed to be Manel Cape versus. It was either Brandon Moreno or Brandon Royval, one of those two guys that was supposed to fight that night, but I think they had to pull out for injury reasons. I think it was, I want to say it was Royval. So, a little bit unfortunate, but yeah. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.